Hey guys, this is Warwick from Casual Chess, back for another 5-minute game today. Looks like I'm playing black against an opponent from Brazil. He starts with e4, I play e5, and f3, and c6, and f6, and we've got the e4 knights game, Scotch variation. I always hate this opening. I never know what to do when my opponent plays d4. Alrighty. We'll play n takes e4 after n takes e5. Okay, looks like we got out of that relatively unscathed. I'm expecting a move now like Queen e2, and if that's the case I will simply play Queen e7. Okay, not the case. Nonetheless, I'll play Queen e7. bf5, looking to target the queen on the d3 square once I move my knight away. Probably drop that knight back to perhaps d6. Okay, so my opponent gets his queen out of the way, but I still will drop back to knight d6. Now attacking the pawn on the c2 square, and I'm probably going to look to castle. Or should I take on c2? That might be the question. Look, I think we will not castle queenside. Castling queenside leaves me a little bit open if my opponent was to play something like rook to b1. So we'll take on c2. Okay. Time now, I think, to castle kingside. And in anticipation of having to move my piece, I will drop my bishop back to e4. I feel like we're doing okay here. We have a 1 pawn advantage, which is pretty decent considering we didn't really know how to play that opening there. My opponent does have a time advantage of approximately 25-30 seconds, so we'll see how this all turns out. Dropping back to bd5, and I'm expecting now something like c4, there we go. But that is actually an error. See, after I drop back bd5, I simply have takes. Now, I must admit I was actually expecting another resignation there. Not the case. That's okay. So where to next? We've got a 4 pawn advantage. I think it would be good if we could try and trade some pieces off the board. So let's try and do that now. Queen c4. Okay, now we win the pawn on d5. 5 pawn advantage. And it looks like we may have an opportunity here to trade some rooks off the board. That's 1 rook off the board. Give my opponent another opportunity to trade queens. Let's see if he'll go for it. He will, but not in the fashion I was anticipating. Finally, let's try and trade off on e8. Okay, now we've got a resignation there. Look, that's probably a pretty decent thing. Let's go into the analysis now and we'll see how that all played out. I think I played reasonably well, but it was really because of an error in my opponent that I was able to get away with a win there. Okay, analysing now. and it looks like my accuracy is quite high. Looking up the top right hand corner, I can see 92.2 for myself, 48.3 for my opponent. Quite a few best moves for me, a few excellent moves. Not many good moves, which is good. Most of those were excellent or best. And I did have 3 inaccuracies and a mistake, but that doesn't really compare to my opponent's 4 inaccuracies, 1 mistake and 2 blunders. So looking below that at the graph, although it says the win was rough, I wouldn't say this is too rough. This is somewhat to be expected by a player of my ranking, about 1300, 1400. So now ideally we could have checkmated him earlier, but let's have a flick through. It's a big blunder there, and that's a blunder there with c4. I was expecting that because I actually didn't see the queen attack on e3 with check, but neither of us did until that was played. After check and take, I win another piece, and it's really all over from there. So there wasn't much that could be done in that situation. My opponent's gone from a negative 0.62 to a negative 5.77. So a good advantage obtained there for me, and it was quite easy to trade off the board. Now there were certainly better ways of playing that. I didn't necessarily have to trade off the board, but I thought that would probably seal the win a little bit better. I imagine that's where some of my inaccuracies and mistakes came from. So if we go back to the analysis itself, it does say that queen c4 was a mistake. There was a reason for that. It was trying to get rid of my pawns, get rid of my queen, get rid of the pieces really, so that I could convert this win. So I'll write off that mistake and I'll say that was normal, that was intended. But from there on, it looks like we played pretty well. A couple of inaccuracies early on in the game. He takes c6 for example, and queen e7, not ideal either. It looks like castling was better. Now why was castling better? Because if queen takes, rook e8. That's something I could have been better aware of, but understandable, I missed that at the time. So alright guys, a very short one today, only about 7 minutes. Hopefully everyone's watched to the end. If you did, please leave a comment saying I watched to the end. I'd really like to see that. If there's something you'd like me to improve on, please let me know. And if you liked the video, please leave it a like. If you didn't, that's okay, but let me know what I could do to improve so I can improve my skills. Okay guys, I will see you in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. Hopefully you got some lessons out of it. Playing the Scotch Gambit, I believe that was. It's the the 4 Knights game, Scotch, Kraus Gambit. Something I need to learn a little bit more, but I always seem to say that, so hopefully this time we'll get on it. Alright, thanks for the watch, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.